This is the end to an all-too-common evening out. Young women, intoxicated, helping each other home. These women are college students where drinking habits are often heaviest and attitudes are open to the party-hardy crowds who often spend 3 to 4 nights a week drinking to excess. While overall drinking trends are down over the past 20 years, for many young women there is new concern.
They are not only drinking more than their male peers, but they're now more likely to drink heavily than their male peers.
David Jernigan is executive director of the Center for Alcohol Marketing and Youth at Georgetown University. Of particular concern here are the drinking patterns of the underaged, those under 21.
There's been a huge amount of effort to stop underage drinking in this country in the last 10 years. It's made some impact with the boys. We're not getting anywhere with the girls.
Meet Corin Zelkis, a bright, happy child born into a stable, affluent family. Raised in a quiet, all-American town outside Boston. A star student at the local high school, destined to lose much of her girlhood to the foggy haze of alcohol.
My friends were all drinking at that time, and I was afraid of being left out.
Corin was 15 when she took her first drink. She was 16 when she passed out for the first time and ended up in a hospital having her stomach pumped.
I didn't wake up until the next morning in my house, in my childhood bed, in the hospital gown, sort of wondering what had happened the night before.
How did your parents respond to that?
They were shaken, they were terrified.
But their fright and that experience did nothing to discourage you from drinking.
It did for a while. But, 6 months down the line, I was at a party, my friends were drinking, they were having fun and laughing, and I didn't want to be left out.
And she wasn't. Out of high school and on to Syracuse University, Corin's life was increasingly filled with boozy nights, blackouts, fearful experiences, and in the end, those experiences filled the pages of her first book, Smashed, published a year ago and on the bestseller lists ever since. It is a powerfully candid chronicle of her own dark experiences in painful detail that has struck a nerve with young women across the country.
It was the only time that I could feel empowered, when I was drinking or when I was drunk.
Is it the only time you felt attractive?
Oh, definitely.
So without the alcohol, you didn't feel like there was anything about you that was interesting or compelling?
It's not awful, no.
You write in your book, I am staggering up the stairway while I grip the railing with both hands until I make it to my floor, my door, and pass out in my clothes on my bed.
Awful.
And yet, you were able to maintain straight A's.
Yeah. I think it's a myth that you have to be dropping out of school, failing in order to have problems with alcohol.
Work hard, party hard. It is a mantra of co-eds at every college and university.
We use kind of going out and drinking as seriously a reward for, working hard during the week.
For many, this means binge drinking, 4 to 5 drinks within a few hours. And that may be mild.
I had a beer at dinner, and before we left, we probably had, 4 or 5 shots, a couple of beers.
I haven't had that many is what I think, but if I really think about it, I've been drinking something new.
You don't want to know. Girls black out a lot here because, I'll go out in the night and I'll buy maybe 1 drink the whole night, and guys, just random people will buy you drinks, so.
Because of differences in physiology, it takes less alcohol and less time for women to become intoxicated than men. And there are consequences. The drinking and driving warnings are loud and clear. The increased risks of sexual assault or unprotected sexual activity are well documented. But a surprising number of youthful drinkers don't know one important fact. If you drink too much, too fast, you can die.
The problem is alcohol. Alcohol poisoning with the girls more significantly than with the guys.
Boulder, Colorado, home to the University of Colorado. Police here are used to responding to parties on and off campus. One weekend last fall, 9 women were hospitalized for alcohol poisoning.
I guess I'm not really too shocked anymore about alcohol ingestion and coming to the ER, and 9 doesn't particularly shock me. Kids that we're seeing tend to be drinking liquor as opposed to beer. So most of the patients that we end up seeing have been drinking vodka or liquor of some sort.
Just 60 miles north in Fort Collins, Colorado, another story grabbed headlines on Labor Day in 2004. Samantha Spady was just about to start her sophomore year at Colorado State. From her early years in high school, she had been a standout.
Senior class president,
exactly.
Captain of the cheerleading squad, homecoming queen, National Honor Society. This girl had it together.
She did have it together.
Pat and Rick Spady speak out about what happened to their daughter that night in early September.
After drinking at some places, she ultimately ended up back at the Sigma Pi fraternity house. That is where the bottle of vanilla-flavored vodka began to be passed around, and that's ultimately where the tragedy starts and ends.
Samantha drank and drank the vanilla vodka until she couldn't walk or talk.
I truly believe that if alcohol tasted like the poison that it actually is, rather than candy, I don't think you'd have young people as intrigued by it, or it wouldn't go down as easy.
Samantha was then taken to a room to sleep it off, a big mistake. She died of alcohol poisoning and was found the next day.
And the next thing I recall is the law enforcement officer being at the door. I mean, your knees go out from under you. Your whole life is just suddenly shattered.
Just a sadness. I mean, you think about it every day, quite a bit all day. I mean, it's just...
Unresponsive, incoherent, unconscious. That individual is in need of immediate medical attention. Never leave them alone. Samantha Spady's death was preventable. It was a shock to the Fort Collins community and made news across the nation. Students attended prayer vigils.
Angel, you were born to fly, and if you get too high, I'll catch you when you fall.
It has been a year now since Samantha's death. In Fort Collins, students tell us the shock of her death has worn off, and students are drinking just as hard as before.
For every Samantha Spady, there are literally 1,399 other deaths on college campuses per year as a result of alcohol use. I wish it were just that isolated instance, but it's not.
On State Street in Madison, Wisconsin, university students hit the bars with particular passion. Named the #1 party school, university officials work hard to curb excessive student drinking. Police regularly sweep the hangouts, checking IDs.
Cheers to Halloween.
But how do you stop this? These girls are drinking straight shots before they go out. It's called pre-gaming, and everyone, even the underaged, says they do it. It is a way to save money, they say, and get your evening off to a fast start. The problem, though, is often how that evening ends.
But you also write that you can't remember your first kiss, and you're not even sure when you lost your virginity because you were so drunk.
Yeah, horrible. I did wake up in a fraternity house one morning and just sort of had no idea what had happened and didn't want to know what had happened.
You had all your clothes off?
Yes.
You had no idea how you got into that bed?
No, I did not remember getting there.
Do you realize how frightening that sounds?
It's terrifying, and it's horrible, and it's something that no one ought to ever experience.
I can't imagine your mom and dad not reading that and getting really upset.
They were, and I think they were really sad, too, just to know the kind of despair that I felt when I was in college, especially.
For Corin's parents, Sharon and Bob, the truth of her desperate struggle with alcohol was delivered in the draft of her book, left at their home one weekend.
I started to read. It was painful. So many times I wanted to put it down. I grieved over my daughter continually putting herself in harm's way. And as a parent and a mother, I didn't know about it, and I didn't do anything to help her.
Most parents don't know all they think they do about their kids. Something to think about for any parent whose daughter is on her way right now to spring break.
Spring break, baby! 2005!
Cancun, Mexico. These are pictures from a year ago. Boys and girls gone wild, fueled by an endless supply of alcohol and youthful energy. And justified by the traditional rites of spring break, where excess is expected and binge drinking appears to be the norm.
I'm drinking so much!
But the hard drinking habits aren't left on the beaches of Mexico. They often continue on campuses across the country, 3 and 4 nights a week. Colorado, Wisconsin, upstate New York, Florida. The crowds that are out to drink to the point of intoxication.
Do you guys think any of you actually binge drink?
Whether you want to recognize it as binge drinking or not, I think that's what they're doing.
We gathered a small group of co-eds from across the country who were willing to speak candidly.
I feel like almost every time I drink, I binge drink, because I feel if I'm going to drink, then I want to get drunk. I don't want to drink just to have like 1 or 2 drinks.
How many drinks do you have? What's a good bender for you guys?
I'd say by the end of the night, maybe like 8.
Sometimes I'll take anywhere from 8 shots to probably like 15.
15
but that's
shots?
like spanned out in hopefully a really long time. I just don't, I lose count.
We play lots of drinking games and stuff, so you probably end up drinking like double digits amounts of drinks and you don't even know.
Have any of you guys gotten sick from drinking too much?
Oh, absolutely.
All of you guys. Have any of you guys ever blacked out from drinking too much? So how many times have you promised never again only to go out again?
Every time I drink.
It was here in Syracuse, New York, in the bars near the university campus, that Corin Zelka spent her college years in a haze of alcohol abuse.
So it doesn't surprise you when you read these stories about these girls who are binge drinking in college?
It doesn't surprise me. It still saddens me. I'd read the statistics and I knew just how many girls were going to the hospitals around universities needing to have their stomach pumped, and how many were sexually assaulted and how many were feeling depressed.
But the campus bars were soon traded for those along New York's 3rd Avenue. College was over, but the alcohol abuse wasn't.
You write in the book, I vomit most mornings, but sometimes I also spit up black specks that remind me of coffee grounds, and I don't know that they're symptomatic of stomach bleeding. Sometimes my feet are muddy, and I catch them poking out of the covers, and I realize I walk down 3rd Avenue with my shoes in my hands.
Scary, really scary. And I mean, those were signs that I was really wreaking havoc on my body.
After waking up in another stranger's apartment, Corin scared herself straight. She stopped drinking, but the fix might not have stuck if she hadn't rediscovered her first love and started to write.
I do think that reading and writing, that replaced drinking in a lot of ways. It helped me fill my time, but more than that, it gave me a sense of pride and self-confidence outside of going out and getting drunk.
Please welcome Corin Zelka to Nichols College.
In the years since Corin's book was published, she has traveled the country, speaking to students and parents about the risks of abusive drinking.
There's not a book like this out here. There's so many girls that are going through that.
Sharing her own painful story as a way to alarm and alert. And women of all ages are responding.
A lot of college girls have written to me to say, you wrote my life story. You wrote, this is exactly how I felt growing up. These are the reasons that I was drinking. I went to rehab after I read your book, and I'm not sure I would have gone otherwise.
Seemed like a way for us to bond.
At the end of your book, you write, in the year and a half since I've quit drinking, I'm not sure I found the good life, but I've certainly uncovered a better one. I've learned that my anxiety won't ever drop off entirely. I've learned that I can't jolt myself out of sadness.
There were things in me that I was drinking to change, feeling that I ought to be the girl who's laughing and throwing her head back and dancing on tabletops, and I'm just not that girl.